Adana was the only child of Papa Adure and his late wife, Mama Adure. She came into the world bald-headed, and her mother died bringing her into it. As tradition demanded, Papa Adure remarried. His new wife, Mama Abiba, already had 2 daughters. From the very first day, Adana never truly belonged. Unlike her stepsisters, she was called ugly. The villagers mocked her whenever she passed by. They said, "A woman's glory is her hair. What glory does she have?" Adana grew up lonely. She had no friends, no one to laugh with. Her only peace was at the stream, the one everyone else had abandoned. Whenever she felt sad, she ran to the stream. She'd sit on a rock, watching the fish dance in the water. Papa Adure worried for her. She spoke little, walked quietly, and never complained. But Mama Abiba never stopped nagging. She always found a reason to scold Adana. "Lazy girl, always hiding at that stream," she would yell. But Papa Adure paid her no mind. He knew Adana did most of the work in the house.
The return of the crown prince. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, the crown prince had just returned after completing his studies abroad. The queen mother went herself to fetch him from the airport. The whole palace buzzed with joy. Drums rolled, servants smiled. The prince missed home dearly. After greeting his parents, he turned to his most trusted guard, Aki. "Let's take a walk around the kingdom," he said, "but we'll go quietly. No royal robes, just men." And so they dressed in simple clothes and went out unnoticed. That afternoon, Adana woke up from a nap with a mild headache. She folded her mat and stepped outside to wash her face. Her sisters were giggling nearby, whispering to each other. She ignored them until she saw her reflection in the water. Her bald head was shining like polished gold. Her sisters had smeared shea butter all over her scalp. Their laughter echoed in her ears. She dropped the calabash and ran. People who saw her laughed and pointed, but she continued running. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she reached her secret place, the stream. She sat on her favorite rock and cried her heart out.
The first encounter. The prince and Aki were walking nearby when something shiny caught the prince's eye. They moved closer and saw a girl sitting on a rock, her bald head glistening in the sunlight. Aki tapped her gently on the shoulder. Startled, she lifted her head, her eyes red from crying. The prince froze. He had never seen such eyes before, sad, yet beautiful. "What are you looking at?" Adana shouted, her voice sharp with pain. The prince opened his mouth, but before he could speak, she ran off into the forest. He stood there, speechless, his heart oddly restless. The king's decree. That evening, the prince and Aki returned to the palace. The king was delighted to see his son again, taller, wiser, ready to rule. "All that's left," the king said proudly, "is for you to choose a queen." The prince nodded. He wasn't ready, but he didn't argue. A royal order went out the next morning. All young maidens must present themselves before the prince tomorrow. The whole kingdom was thrilled, except Adana. The day arrived. Music filled the air. Maidens dressed in bright colors, their hair glistening with oil and beads. At Papa Adore's home, Adana sat quietly.
"Ada, why aren't you getting ready?" her father asked. "I'm not feeling well," she lied softly. Papa Adore sighed. He knew the truth. His daughter didn't want to be laughed at again. Her sisters twirled before the mirror, mocking her as they left. "Stay home, bald head," they said, laughing.
At the palace, the maidens introduced themselves one by one. Some sang, some danced, some played instruments. The Queen Mother smiled at Thembi, Adana's elder sister. "That one has grace," she said. But the prince sat quietly. His eyes searched the crowd. "Where is the shiny-headed girl?" he thought. When the event ended, the palace scribes took attendance. One maiden was missing. The king frowned. Who dares disobey the royal summons? The search for Ada. The next day, the king ordered his guards to find the missing girl. They arrived at Papa Adure's compound. Startled, he lied, "She's gone to visit her grandmother in the next village. I'll bring her myself." The guards believed him and left. But Mama Abiba had overheard everything. The next morning, she hurried to the palace. "Your Majesty," she said sweetly, "the girl you seek, Adana, is at home right now." The king was furious. He sent his guards immediately. Papa Adure, upon seeing the guards, was very shocked but immediately understood when he saw his wife leading them. "What kind of woman did I marry?" he thought. Adana was taken by surprise but didn't resist. She told herself, "What more can the king do to me? I am already cast."
The royal courts. At the palace, Adana bowed deeply before the king. "Why did you disobey my order?" the king asked sternly. "And why lie about traveling to your grandmother's?" Adana could have told the truth, but she didn't want to shame her father, so she accepted the blame. "I am sorry, Your Majesty," she said softly. But the king wasn't moved. "Apology is not enough," he said. "You must learn respect." Just then, the prince walked in and stopped. Those eyes, that face, the same girl from the stream. Adana froze. Of all the people in this palace, him again? And he is the crown prince? The prince quickly stepped forward and said, "Father, instead of punishment, let her walk here in the palace until you are satisfied." The king raised a brow, but agreed. Adana was relieved. It was better than being flogged publicly. That night, she told her father the news. Papa Adure was not happy about the situation. Mama Abiba pretended to be sad, but rejoiced inside. Her sisters laughed, forgetting who would be doing the house chores from now.
Adana's new life in the palace was nothing like she imagined. Every morning, the cock's crow was replaced by the sound of golden bells announcing the start of chores. The palace was vast, big enough to get lost in, and she almost did on her first day. She was assigned to help in the royal kitchen. The cooks were kind but noisy women who liked to gossip more than they cooked. They called her names but never to her face. Adana pretended not to hear them. She focused on her work, pounding yam, fetching water, scrubbing the marble floor until it sparkled like her own shiny head. And most importantly, she avoided the prince at all costs. The prince had traveled for meetings, which gave her peace. Days passed, and for the first time in her life, Adana made a friend, Tabiru, the chief guard. He was tall, broad-chested, and kind. He liked her honesty and simple nature. "Most people pretend here, but you are real." Adana smiled. "I have nothing to hide." They talked often. Sometimes they laughed too loudly, and others in the palace began to whisper. But Adana didn't mind. For once, she had someone who saw her for who she truly was. One morning, while carrying a bowl of fruits to the Queen Mother's quarters, Adana nearly bumped into someone at the corner of the long corridor. The bowl flew up, and the fruit scattered everywhere, oranges rolling on the floor. "Oh no," she cried, kneeling quickly to gather them. A deep, calm voice replied, "I see the fruits have found freedom before breakfast." She froze. That voice was familiar. She looked up.
And there he was, the crown prince, himself in royal garments, smiling as if he had been waiting for her to do something clumsy. Your Highness, she stammered. He bent down, helping her pick up the oranges. You again, he said softly. The girl from the stream. Adana almost dropped the fruits again. I didn't mean to shout at you that day, my prince. The prince laughed gently. It's fine. I'm used to people shouting when they see me. Though usually it's excitement, not fear, or should I call it anger? Adana blushed, unsure whether to laugh or hide under the floor. She mumbled something and hurried away, almost tripping again. The prince watched her go, amused. There was something different about her. Something honest, unpolished, and real. That evening, while cleaning the courtyard, Adana met Tabiru, the king's chief guard. He was standing tall by the entrance, his spear in hand, his eyes as sharp as an eagle's. Ah, the palace's new worker, he said teasingly. How is life among the royal walls? Busy, Adana replied without looking up. Tabiru chuckled. You should smile more. Adana glanced at him. Don't I? In fact, I will smile when I see you smile too, she replied. Tabiru laughed. You're brave, he said. Most girls here either flatter or fear me. Adana shrugged. When you grow up being laughed at, fear loses its flavor. That night, Tabiru couldn't stop thinking about her. The next morning, Adana found a small basket of fresh fruits outside her quarters with a note that read, For the girl who made the oranges run away. Yours sincerely. She smiled for the first time in days, then frowned. Could it be the crown prince? No, it can't, she whispered to herself, though her heart knew the answer. Adana's days at the palace grew more complicated than she ever expected. She used to worry only about fetching water or scrubbing floors, but now she had to worry about not bumping into the crown prince. Ever since the basket of fruits incident, Adana had become unusually alert. If she heard the prince's voice down one corridor, she would quickly take another. If she saw his shadow, she would hide behind pillars or pretend to sweep dust that wasn't there. The palace maid started whispering. What if the queen mother sees me near him and thinks I'm trying to attract attention? She had seen what happened to servants who crossed royal lines. They didn't get scolded. They simply disappeared. One sunny afternoon, while Adana was washing the royal carpets in the courtyard, she saw the prince approaching from afar, his golden robe glimmering in the sunlight. Her heart jumped. She quickly grabbed the wet carpet, threw it over her head, and pretended to be carrying it. She staggered away like a walking bundle of laundry. Adana, the prince's voice called behind her. She froze, then kept walking faster. Adana, stop! You're dripping water all over the floor, he said, laughing. But she disappeared through the servants' gate, leaving a trail of soapy footprints behind her. The prince just stood there, shaking his head, amused and curious. She's the first girl who runs away from me, he murmured. Meanwhile, Tabiru, the chief god, noticed everything. He saw how the prince's eyes followed Adana whenever she passed by. He also saw how Adana smiled more these days, though she tried to hide it. One evening, as Adana finished her chores, Tabiru called her over. Adana, come here, he said, resting his spear against the wall. She walked slowly, suspicious as always. I see you running away from the prince these days, he said with a smirk. Adana frowned. Who told you that? The walls talk, Tabiru said, and so do the guards. He leaned closer. You know, most girls would pay gold just to be noticed by him. But you run like he's a hungry lion. Adana chuckled softly.
That's because lions eat people, Tabiru. He laughed. I like you, Adana. You're not like the others. She looked at him confused. Like the others how?
Like the ones who pretend to be what they're not, he said, his voice deep and serious now. You don't fake smiles. You're just you. Adana didn't know what to say. Tabiro's gaze lingered a bit too long. She cleared her throat and stepped back. Thank you, Tabiro. I should go. The kitchen needs me. As she hurried away, Tabiro watched her go with a smirk. The palace was starting to feel different, and he wasn't sure he liked it. That evening, the crown prince couldn't sleep. He stood by his window, looking out at the moonlit courtyard. He saw Adana carrying a jug of water, humming softly to herself. Something about that moment, her simplicity, her calmness, hit him deep. He didn't see a servant, he saw peace. The next morning, the prince decided to test something. He sent one of the younger guards to call Adana to the royal garden. Adana nearly dropped her broom when she heard the message. The royal garden? Me? Why? Did I do something wrong? She asked. The guard just smiled and said, His Highness wants to see you, alone. Her heart raced. She thought of running, but she knew that disobeying the prince could be dangerous. So she took a deep breath and walked to the royal garden, step by never step. The crown prince was sitting under the big almond tree, reading a scroll. When he saw her, he stood up and smiled warmly. Adana, he said, relax. She bowed low. Greetings, Your Highness. May I know why I am being summoned? The prince laughed. I wanted to ask why you keep running away from me. Adana blinked. Because I don't want trouble, my prince. What kind of trouble, he teased. Every trouble, she said seriously. I see, he said. Adana sighed. Your Highness, please. I just want to do my work quietly. People already talk about me too much. I don't care what they say, the prince replied, but I do care about what you think of me. Adana looked up, meeting his gaze for the first time since the stream. She didn't know what to say. Her tongue felt heavy. So she bowed again quickly. With all respect, my prince, I think I should go before someone sees me here. She turned and hurried off before he could reply. The prince stood there, half amused, half mesmerized. Even her escape is graceful, he whispered. Meanwhile, Tabiru was watching from a distance, his jaw tight. He gripped his spear and muttered something under his breath. But deep inside, Tabiru already knew. Both of them were falling for the same girl. One evening, Adana was helping decorate the royal hall for a coming banquet. She climbed a stool to hang silk cloths when a strong voice startled her. Careful, you'll fall. She turned. It was the crown prince again, standing by the doorway. She gasped. Your Highness, you shouldn't sneak up on people like that. I didn't sneak, he said, walking closer. I've been standing here for 5 minutes waiting for you to notice me. You were lost in your thoughts. I wasn't lost, she muttered, fixing the cloth. I was busy. With who? He teased. Adana climbed down from the stool, holding the edge of her wrapper. Please, my prince, don't say such things. Someone could hear you. As if the gods had heard her, someone did. The palace gossip, Kulu, was hiding behind a column, arranging flowers. Her eyes widened like mango seeds as she watched the scene. She didn't wait for the ending. She ran straight to the queen mother. By morning, the whole palace was whispering, the prince and the bored girl. Did you see how he looks at her? Maybe she used some charm from the stream. When the queen mother heard, she nearly dropped her teacup. What nonsense! My son with a servant girl? Never! She stormed into the king's chamber, her royal gown sweeping the floor. My king, she said, your son is losing focus. There's talk in the palace that he's taking interest in a servant.
The king frowned. What servant? The bald one, Adana, the one who disobeyed your call. The king's brows furrowed. That stubborn girl again? He sent for the crown prince immediately.